Helo, shwmai a croeso I bodlediad Tadau'r Trymder gyda Mae Dadi Huw. Hello and welcome to the Fathers of Metal podcast with myself, Dadi Huw, from METALIDADS. Today, we're a very lucky guest. We've got the vocalist for Bay Area Thrash Titans, VIO-LENCE. So a big METALIDADS welcome to Papa Sean Killian. What's happening, Sean?
Not much, man. Just enjoying life and happy to be here. Thanks for having me. No
problem, man. It's again on the theme of health. It's fantastic to have you here, and you sound fantastic. You sound really youthful. I can hear a lot of youth coming over the screen. It's fantastic.
I don't age.
Again, it's the Iberian part of you. It must be that. So you say you're enjoying life. So what's on your agenda for today? Are you on daddy duty today?
Yeah, I'm here at the job site. We're building 16 townhomes on this project in Rockland, California. And then, I have my house at home, and my son, he's away right now playing hockey. And my daughter, she lives with her mom, but I see her 2 weekends a month and 1 day a week. And so, it's good, having a good time. Enjoying life.
That's cool, man. So just on that subject, it's something I wasn't going to ask you about, but is the relationship okay currently? The relationship as in the agreement, is it sort of working for now? Is the rhythm working between you as a family?
Well, we just kind of we had a court appearance last Thursday, and so we've sealed up all the spousal support, the fatherly responsibilities of that and child support. And we're pretty happy about, the outcome. And, we don't have my ex-wife and I, we're not, we don't have like animosity between us, but it does put a strain on the relationship with my daughter for sure, but it's when she's with me, we have a great time. And she's a little crafty. She's 14 and she of course, at that age, they know everything. She could be a challenge at times, but we have a good relationship. We have good times when we're together. And she's kind of like her old man in that, things don't bother her. It's like, yeah, I'm mad now, but in 10 minutes, I'll be fine.
It's amazing.
My son, he's gone most of the year. Yeah, my son's gone most of the year playing hockey. So he's with me. He lives with me when he's home. And he's a typical 18-year-old, Xbox, chicks, fishing, stuff like that.
So 18 and 14, that's amazing. So what level of hockey does your boy play?
He plays junior hockey, and the league is called the U.S. Premier Hockey League, and it's a nationwide league. So they're finishing up their season this weekend at Lake Tahoe. And then then they start their playoffs. If they win the Pacific Division, then they go to Boston to play in the national championships. And it's 16 to 20-year-olds.
Oh, wow. So he must be on the road quite a lot then in this league or this division, as you say.
Yeah, so he lives in Fresno, which is about 3 hours from me. He lives with the Billet family. And I pay them a monthly fee to take care of them, and they're great people, and so then his life is basically spent on the ice or in the gym or doing his homework, and then he goes out and horses around with his buddies, his teammates,
Well, dude, he's 18. What else is he going to do? He needs to have a bit of fun just learning the ropes, I suppose.
Yeah, and Fresno's it's not like a tourist hub. So you could tip cows out there and do stuff like that.
Well, dude, I'm from rural Wales, where there's a lot of farms, so cow tipping is something we all know too well. But I deny everything. Don't tell the police. I wasn't a serial cow tipper of 2006, honestly. But
Farmer John's down the road going.
But yes, it's nice to hear about your kids. So what about your daughter? What type of thing is she into? Activities or hobbies?
She dances competitively. She dances tap, jazz, lyrical. She's just started hip hop this season. She hadn't really been interested in it. She's on. She does ballet. She's on her point shoes. But yeah, she's. It's funny because I don't see them practice. Right. If she's at the rehearsal studio, which is right there on the corner from my house, I don't go there to watch her. The only time I see her is when she competes or when they have recitals. So it's always interesting because every season it seems like she just gets better and better and better. Then you got the helicopter parents. They're hanging out at the dance studio, looking through the window, watching their kids, judging them. I've always felt, I'll just kick. She's confident. She's good. Okay, you're here later, and she doesn't want any of us. She doesn't want me or her mother there anyway. So,
yeah, it's
very
cool.
Independent. It's not cool, yeah. But a lot of the parents do hang out there. But I respect her wishes, and she doesn't want me there. I don't want to be there. But for the competitions, I most of her competitions, so the ones that were. There's one coming up in March. It's in San Francisco, so I have to get a hotel and everything. So I go with her for those, and it's really cool because we get to spend time together. And she's very busy at the competitions, and she has all her little friends around too. But the hotels are nice, big hotels like the Hilton, so they can run around the hotel and have a good, fun time. But yeah, it's great. When she just had a competition a couple of weeks ago, and I was stunned at how much better she's gotten.
At the end of the day, I suppose the matches that matter are those championship matches, those finals, etc. She knows you're going to be there, because you're there every time. Yeah. So she's obviously going to stand up to the plate. Then I think it's quite intrusive potentially sometimes having to turn up unannounced, maybe at a rehearsal. That's the time they want to reflect and the time they want to really focus, because they've got the end goal, and that's the big game when the parents actually do turn up. So I like your style. It's just good respect for the independence of the kids as well.
Yeah. And when she competes, she's going full out. At rehearsal, they're making sure they're not forgetting the moves and they're focused on that. But so when they do hit stage, her and her dance mates, they're focused on the task, and so they go all out. And yeah, so to watch your kid dance at rehearsal is kind of like really pointless because they have their own agenda, and as a parent, you're like, come on, you can do better than that.
Well, dude, you know what it's like in a band rehearsal situation. That's the one place you need to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes because you know where to fix them then.
Yeah, unless you make the same mistake over and over like 10 times, and then the rest of us are looking at you like, dude, come on.
Cough, 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 the drummer. Whoops.
Nailed it.
So yeah, don't tell the violence drummer I said that. I wasn't referencing anyone specifically. But hey, dude, keeping it music related, again, thanks so much for sharing about your family. It's really nice to hear about your kids, and they sound like a fantastic bunch, and it's nice that they got there really focused on the things they just truly love doing, and that's just lovely to hear. Really, really nice to hear. So again, onto the music. So some of our younger dads, for example, they might not, some of them might not be familiar with VIO-LENCE in your original sort of heyday in the late 80s, early 90s. Of course, you released 3 albums, 1 EP. They disbanded around 1993. So, of course, some of the band members went on to form other projects, bands, etc. And you've said on record before that at that particular time, you felt the music industry was quite toxic. It was quite controlling. It was really difficult to have almost like a type of expression. So you mentioned to me just at the start that what you're doing today about building work. So once you left VIO-LENCE in 1993, what did you get up to for the next few years?
So the first thing I did, I got my contractor's license, and I was doing some contract work, and then the Bay Area didn't have a whole lot of jobs going on, so I moved to Nevada, the Carson Valley. My brother lives out there, and I learned a lot out there. The people I worked for, we did pretty much everything ourselves, except like electrical, plumbing, and things of that nature. But And then when I came back to California, I was Carpenters Union. And when the job ended, I went to the hall. It was like there was 180 people, and they all seemed to enjoy drinking coffee and eating donuts and reading the newspaper as opposed to getting out to work. So then I got a job on a project as what they call a detailer, a guy that just goes in and does a little bit of caulking, a little bit of painting. And the company noticed me, the builder did, my work ethic, and so they approached me and asked me to come on board with them. And that was 1997. And I've been running big projects ever since. My last job site was 396 apartment units, and I've done hundreds of. I've probably built about 2,000, 3,000 residential units, through my career, and this job here is 16 townhomes for sale. I like to do apartments, because everything's the same.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what I was doing, and then raising my kids and doing my thing, and then I got sick,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what kind of drove me back to music.
That's cool, man. I'll definitely a few things I want to ask you about on that particular subject. But you've just by what you've told me there, you've made quite a difference to obviously a lot of people. Again, maybe families starting out, people having their first home. So that must be a nice feeling to say you've contributed to such a large number of people's futures. It's really cool. Yeah,
and what's funny is I could go back to a job site I did 15 years ago, and it's still there. It's like I've left this monument of my work ethic standing throughout the Northern California.
That's cool, man. It's nice to see you've actually put your stamp on something. You can actually see the the visual evidence of that as well. But oral evidence as well. Keeping it music related, I'm jumping straight into next week now. I'm going to verbally time travel. Now, the 4th of March next week, there is something happening in the VIO-LENCE camp. Would you like to tell us what is happening on the 4th of March?
So on the 4th of March, we're releasing our EP, our 5-song EP called Let the World Burn. We're releasing it through Metal Blade Records, and we're really excited about it. So far, we've put a single out, Flesh from Bone, with a lyrical video. And just Monday of last week, we released Let the World Burn video that we did with Robert Mastis. He's going to kill me.
I edited the video.
But so that turned out the way we had hoped it would. We're not out spending huge budgets on stuff. We just try to get the information, the music out to the people. So, like the lyrical video was a perfect example of us, networking and doing what we do with the label and stuff. We didn't pay a dime for that video. The guy that did all the background stuff, the lyrical stuff, he works for Metal Blade in Europe. So he was like, I'd love to do it. And so he jumped right on it, and we think that turned out really well. And, the album cover itself, I worked with an artist in Emery. He's out in Istanbul, and he did a diorama for us. The impaled bodies are like a diorama. And then he took it to a photo studio down the street, took pictures of it on a table, sent me the images. And then my cousin Adam Lomberg, he worked for Microsoft for forever. So he did all the digital background that you see on it. And then I went on a website, the album cover builder website, and did the sleeves and put all the lyrics in and all the thank yous and the images and everything ourselves. And then we sent that to the label, and then they dissected it a little bit, and so they could print it properly. And so what you see with VIO-LENCE, that EP is a lot of homegrown work, that we did ourselves.
That's probably a major difference, I suppose. Maybe how bands put out music now than maybe late 80s, early 90s, where there's a lot more hands-on, people being directly linked with all that stuff. Is that sort of right? Is there a major difference between when you started out first and now? Because I know, as you mentioned, you've said on record before that it's a lot more chilled now. There's a bit more freedom. There's a lot more independence, and people have to almost be a bit more business smart these days.
Yeah, you do. And, back then you were just a musician in a band, and then you had a manager, and then everything just kind of happened. And now it's like, I got to pay a manager. What? 20%? 25%? That's a lot of money. Hell, I could do that myself with technology. And that's the great thing. You have the technology to do stuff like make your own record cover, And so that's what we did. And, you invest some time in it, but it's ours, we did it.
Yeah, dude, you did it well.
I told the guys, hey, man, on the sleeve, send me a picture that you want to have on there, and I need it to be dark so it matches. All the pictures kind of blend. And they were sending me some pictures, and I'm all, dude, I ain't even gonna say names. I'm not gonna put this picture on the record. You better work harder, because if you don't, I'm gonna use this picture.
Yeah,
like,
the one you hate.
And suddenly, a plethora of acceptable images start coming in. So it's a fun process,
That sounds fun, man. Honestly, the product you have is fantastic, as in just the visual product itself. I'm trying to avoid using the P word and the C word, but lyrically speaking, has the past couple of years and what's happening globally, has it contributed to the songwriting of the EP? I mean, just like, for example, the name of the EP, Let the World Burn, is that a reference at all, or just something that sounded damn cool?
It's a reference, and it's also kind of a wake up. My attempt there on just that song in particular is like, wake up, people. Your issues aren't as big as you think they are. You need to think more globally. And I think the thing too with the information highway is like, I see posts and it's like, dude, I don't care if you're getting a tooth pulled today. It's like, no one cares. And so in the end, if there's a cataclysmic, extinction event, everything that was important to you or not important, or what pissed you off, or what monuments you thought were beautiful, it'll all be gone in a flash. And, you'll be forgotten, and none of it will matter. And so what really matters while you're, slothing around on this planet is, your outlook on life, and how you treat people, and how you wish to be treated, and the relationships you make with people. And I think people today get too caught up in their individualism, and if there was a cataclysmic event and everything was gone, no one would care, no one would remember. It would be like you never existed, unless in 2 million or 3 million or 10 million years another life form inhabited the planet and they were able to reason, because you could have another life form, but it may not be able to reason. And it's because we reason that we were able to find the dinosaurs and stuff. But the dinosaurs would never have found who was there before them, because they can't go. They don't think, oh, let's go dig in here and find some bones of something that was alive like 10 million years ago. They're just animals. So that's kind of what I was going for with that song. And like Upon Their Cross is really relative to what's happening these days with, it's kind of like everybody's looking for that tragedy to hold up upon their cross and go, look, we should rally behind this, and it's just like, for what? So you can be part of a group. And I'm just really like not part of any group. And I view everything from a distance. I try to not get caught in the mosh, as Anthrax would say. But
yeah, I like that metal reference. Very smart.
Yeah, I'd like to step back and kind of go, okay, is what I'm being told the truth? Is there more information? Is there, and so, I try. And my mom drives me crazy because she watches the freaking news every day. It's like, would you stop that shit?
To be honest, I stopped watching June 2020, and I wouldn't say it's been the happiest 2 years of my life, but it's a major contribution to the happiest part of the past 2 years of my life, because
if you think about it, they deal in misery. It's like, who wants that?
And dude, there's plenty of good news. It's just it doesn't mold your brain, I suppose.
No. Well, it does, but not the way you want it to be molded.
Touche. Anyway, I could talk to you about this topic all night, but I got a few other things I'd like to ask you as well. By the way, I'm a huge fan of the EP. The sound you guys have created. I know obviously there's been a big member change, but as you said on the record, it's pure violence. It really is the heart and the soul. It very much is the spirit of violence. And what a way to open with it. You've obviously released 2 singles, Flesh and Bone as an opener. It's fantastic. And even though I'm a singer, at heart, I'm mainly a bass player as well. And what I love about the EP, you give a lot of room for the bass guitar to be heard over the guitars, which isn't, even though how long thrash has been around for, the guitar is still God in thrash metal. And only a handful of bands really let the bass go. But I really like the balance, and it was really nice. That's one thing I really noticed out of the 5 songs. It wasn't just a one song, but it was numerous songs. And yeah, maybe that was by accident, but as someone listening to the album, as a bass player, big thumbs up.
Yeah, well, when you got Christian Oldie Wolbers, you want him to be heard.
Yes.
The dude's a savage on the bass. I mean, he really plays that bass hard. I don't know that you could hide him in the background.
Again, yeah, was he difficult to fit on the sleeve as well as you try and get all those photographs?
No. I think I had to Photoshop his shirt out though. Yeah, I forget what shirt he was wearing, but yeah. But you know, 2 Mats, and he did the mix, and you know, he was sending it to us probably daily, maybe a couple times a day. We'd make comments. You know, I really just kind of listen to myself and where I sit in the mix, you know, and Phil and Bobby and Christian, they really got into the nuances of the guitar's relationship to the bass. And you know, there's a lot of you know, violence isn't all bar chords. You know, we got Phil writes a lot of note picking, and so it stands out on its own. And you know, you want that bass to be in there filling that spot, and you want it to be heard, you know, not just kind of there. And then Perry's drums too did a great job with the mix on the drums. I mean, and Perry, I wasn't there for Perry's recording sessions, but I know Juan and Phil were really pushing him, because I came in once late. I think he was just finished wrapping up, and he had to go do a drum roll, and he must have done it like 20 times, and they kept pushing him until he got so pissed off, and he laid it out, and they're like, exactly.
This is what we want.
We have to do constantly.
So, Sean, tell me, after the 5 songs have been completed, they've been mixed. Again, it's coming out on the 4th of March. How do you feel about what you've created? Are you happy with the EP?
Yeah, I am, because you know, in the beginning, Phil and I talked about, well, it has to be, you know, violence. It has to be a thrash album. I mean, we're going to be out now, and we haven't done any recordings in like 30 years, and you know, it's going to be scrutinized, and you know, we are a thrash band, and if we're going to do this, we're going to do it hard and heavy as we can. And you know, and so there's notes in there that weren't there that we added, and it's really an intense writing process, you know. And I'm fortunate to have Phil, because Phil really, he's very talented with his fingers, with his picking, with his creativity, and he's very open to you know, suggestion, and because you know, we kind of take his riffs and we create a song, you know, we map it out and everything, and you know, it takes someone with an open mind and patience to go through that process, because you try things and then you go, you know, that didn't sound as good as it did in my head. And you know,
such as life.
And there's like the opening riff to Let the World Burn, that came into the studio as 2 riffs, and we took the best parts of both riffs and put them together to make that one. So yeah, it's fun, you know. And the lyrics, you know, it was just like, okay, you know, on Nothing to Gain, we had a lot of outside influences, and there was really a lot of critiquing from people that weren't in the band. And then so this time we're like, well, we're on Metal Blade. Metal Blade's a thrash label. You know, they started off doing thrash, and so they support us 100%. They know who we are. They know what we do, and you know, they're not gonna. When I wrote the lyrics, it was like, I'm not gonna compromise. I don't care if someone gets offended. I don't care, you know, I just want to put out violence. I mean, the band's name is Violence, and if you read the lyrics of a band that's called Violence, they better hold
Violent.
up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so
Go figure.
yeah, it was a great fun process, and you know, I have to get in the studio and demo some lyrics on a riff Phil sent me, and you know, so we're always working to do that.
That's
Now
amazing.
And what's cool is that things were closed, so we weren't practicing for shows. We were at practice specifically for one reason, and that was to write.
But dude, it's just nice for you, of course, to be back in that creative process again. Obviously, you've done the odd singular songs. You also did a digital release a few years ago as well. But it's nice that you could, you were back there to do, of course, multiple songs. You've of course played with the idea of reforming numerous times over the years, either doing the one-off show here and there, etc. Do you feel now that maybe all the stars are aligned this time for something potentially long term? So what are your feelings about that?
Well, yeah. What's funny is when we played the reunion show, Phil wore a shirt that said "Nothing is ever over." Nothing is over. So
subtle as a sledgehammer.
Our attitude. Yeah, that's kind of our attitude. It's like, well, nothing's ever over. You know, we'll just continue as long as we're writing music. You know, that's really what matters to us. And you know, we're not a big touring band, so you're not gonna see us going out and doing 40 shows. But you know, we try to pick our spots and have the right deal in place so we can go out and have a good time and bring the band to the fans and you know, it's not work. Like, it's enjoyable.
Good. No, good attitude, dude. Really good attitude. Just a couple of facts for you. Did you know that Vio-Lence's return to form was actually longer than Black Sabbath's?
Oh, really?
Yeah, interesting. As in, they released, I think, one of their last albums in the early 90s, and then 2013, they released the album 13. So, yeah, yours was longer, which is quite amazing. Yeah. And I think there's only one. I just did a bit of research. I love facts and Wikipedia and stuff. And I think there's only one metal band that beats you in the longest release between albums, and it's Possessed, coined with of course you know Possessed, and that was 32 years. So you were very close.
Well, I'm glad they got back together too, because I love Possessed.
Oh, me too. Ozzy, their 2019 album is one of my all-time favorite modern thrash records, or black, you know, I don't even call it either black and thrash or death thrash or whatever you really want to call it. But yeah, and especially considering the trauma the singer went through such a long time ago, and he recently walked again with assistance. So amazing.
Yeah, well, and the thing with Possessed too is, like, if you watch Murder in the Front Row, they don't get a whole lot of credit, but they were there early on, you know, with Metallica and ahead of Exodus and those bands, and I do credit them for creating death metal. I mean, back then they were just young guys, you know, and we would go to Ruthie's Inn to see them. They were as or more popular than any of the other bands, you know. And they don't get enough credit for that era, you know, because people go, "Oh, it's thrash," and they're not really thrash, but they were the genesis of that scene, you know, that whole thing.
Well, they were the next stage in the evolution, weren't they? Really. But just thought I'd throw you some interesting facts. Again, Possessed. Any excuse to throw a Possessed fact in. I haven't got many, but that's one of them. Now, I'm just going to move away from the music for a little bit, just for now. I'm going to time travel again, back to, say, between 2016 and 2018, where effectively, you know, you had such a health scare that it was utterly life-changing for you. So in the spirit of discussing, I suppose, fatherly health openly, would you be happy sharing with us just what you went through, and again, in as much or as little detail as you can?
Of course. So what my problem I had was called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. So alpha-1 antitrypsin is a protein your body creates, and it extracts toxins from your liver cells and your lung cells, and then your body gets rid of it, right? So due to not getting the full deck of cards from my mom and dad, I had no alpha-1 antitrypsin protein to do that work. And so over a period of time, my liver went into cirrhosis. It wasn't something that I knew was happening. It was just like I went in because I was on statin drugs for my cholesterol at the time. And so I was doing my blood work every 6 months. And so I went in to see my doctor after my blood work, and he said my platelet count was really low. And so they did a CT scan, and it was like, yeah, you got this problem. Now, I hadn't had any effects from it, none of the signs had shown up yet. But after I was diagnosed, it was about 4 months later that I started really having some physical problems. The liver, once it's cirrhosis to the level that I had, the proteins and sodiums and the blood just can't get through there. So there's a vein between your spleen and your liver. And if it can't get that through there, then it starts excreting the proteins and sodium through that vein as a fluid called ascites, and it fills up your abdominal cavity. So every Friday I had to go into the hospital to get a paracentesis, which is plug a catheter into the side of you and drain your abdomen. And they were draining about anywhere from 10 to 12 liters of fluid out of my abdomen every week. And so that was brutal. And since my body wasn't getting enough protein, it started taking the protein from my muscle tissue. So then I went from like 190 pounds down to 140. I think I was 143 before my surgery. And so, that little skeleton of a self was carrying around like 22 pounds of fluid in my belly every week. And wow, it was horrible. And, your blood platelet count's really low. So if you cut yourself, you bleed a lot. It's like, it's hard to clot for your blood to clot. And then after my surgery, I went down to like 134 pounds. And my incision goes, like if you ran your finger along your rib cage, that's my incision from one side to the other. So they kind of open you wide open. So that took a while to heal up. And then I think it was 3 weeks after my original surgery that there was a drain tube in me, and that drain tube got clogged. So the bile from the cut edge of my liver was going into my abdomen and caused me to have a infection, a bacteria infection. And it was like in my lower left quadrant of my abdomen, on my intestines and my colon. And I was in so much pain. I went back into the hospital, and then they cut me open again. Excuse me. So 3 weeks after my original surgery, they had to open me up again and flush me out and get a new bigger tube in there to drain off that bile. And it was a hell of a time. And all I could do was lay in bed thinking to myself, when I first woke up, I was like, holy shit, I just had a big ass organ taken out of me, a replacement put in me, and I'm still able to look at the ceiling, It's amazing. And then all I could think of was, well, how do I repay the people that helped me, while before my procedure with Killian on command and the golf tournament fell through. And it's funny because all I could think about was playing music again. And that's the only way I was thinking that I could help or thank people, because there were so many people involved. And so now it took me about 6 months to recover and get back on my feet. And it was like a year to the day that we went back on stage from that second surgery I had. And but the whole time I was ill, I was just miserable. And I was still coming to work every day. I worked right up until the day of my surgery.
Wow.
And
yeah,
because I had to keep my insurance active, I had to keep putting food on the table.
Yeah.
And, so, but the whole time I was more miserable than in fear of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in pain. I had a big hernia, a huge hernia in my groin that was very painful. And so I had to deal with that every day. But, it's kind of those curveballs life throws you. And, at the time they were trying to push antidepressant drugs on me and shit. And it was just like, you know what, I'm fine, Oh, well, people, I remember the nurse telling me people, they get they get depressed and they're afraid of what could happen. They're afraid of dying and And I was just like, well, I don't have that fear because I am where I am right now, and I can't really do anything about it other than what my doctors asked me to do.
Mhm.
And I'm not, if this is the end, I'm not going to live the last part of my life in fear, and that's kind of my attitude now. It's like, why even fear that? And so I'm not really afraid of anything. I mean, there's nothing that's,
That's left.
yeah. I mean, what are you going to, we're all going to die. I mean, it's inevitable. It's
Mhm.
part of life. And so it's like, you don't have control, or you can't decide when that time comes. So it's like, why spend your time worrying about it, or letting it get you depressed or anything like that? Because in the end, you go to bed and you wake up the next day, and you want to have a good day.
Absolutely, man. Dude, thanks so much for sharing that story with me, especially in detail. If you decide a career change, I think you should become a biology teacher, because that was very, very thorough.
What's funny is a lot of times I knew more than the doctors that my surgeon he's the head of the transplant board at UCSF, him and his wife. So they were not just like doctors on staff, surgeons. They were the top surgeons. And when you're around people like that and they're talking to you about your situation, and then they're like, okay, this one doctor, he's going to do this procedure on you. You go meet him first, and then you're like, yeah, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. And then you go into the hospital for to see your general practitioner, who's typically a resident. You're like, you can't tell me anything I don't already know. It's like, get a real doctor in here. So you kind of get that arrogance of, yeah, and when they're doing my paracentesis too, I would be telling them, because it would be resident doctors, hey, you need to get that lidocaine deeper. You got to penetrate my peridium, because if you don't, I'll feel that catheter going in.
Yeah.
They look at you like, I'm the doctor here.
Dude, it's two things really. It's nice that throughout this ordeal, because I suppose it's a summation of your character, that even in such a could be a dark situation, you can find a sense of humor in it. And it's nice that you managed to keep so mentally resilient. It's actually quite inspirational, to be honest. And it's just, me personally and METALIDADS are just really happy to have you here. And again, it's just nice to hear the positive outlook in your tone. So yeah, man, really thanks for sharing that with me.
That's me. And I'll tell you right now, someone asked me, "Oh, you're so mellow. How do you do the violent stuff?" I go, "Well, you haven't seen me on the highway."
I'll take a taxi.
I drive farm roads to work, so I don't have to go on the main
okay, cool.
Yeah, I avoid all those people as much as I can.
Oh no, no. The older I get, the less I like people. I'm on the same page as you there, Sean. Definitely.
I guess that is part of life. I'm in the same boat you are.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So you've previously said publicly that near enough a quote. I think you said you see yourself more of a vocalist that likes to belt out numbers as opposed to a singer. So you'd like to belt out a number with grit and energy. So from a vocal health perspective, did being back in the studio, did it fit like a glove? Or did you have to approach the vocals differently, considering the length of time you were in the studio last time, and because, of course, the health complications? So what do you have to say about that?
So I used to hate going into the studio. So Eternal Nightmare or Pressing Out, it's a grind, and you're in there for 7 days recording vocals for 8 hours a day, and it was always like, oh God, I love playing live, and because there's the energy there and the emotion and in the studios back then, it's kind of just like sterile, and you're doing
cold
things multiple times, and so this time, Juan and I talked about the studio experience, and it was more. Juan's perfect for us because he's like, he doesn't show up at 7 and leave at 7 or leave at like 9 in the evening. He's like there at 10, takes, he chills out, then it's like, okay, you ready to get started? It's like, yeah, sure. And then we go in and we start recording. Around 4:30, he's like, I'm done. I want to get out of here. It's like, okay. So Christian, he was so used to like being like in the studio for hours on
Mhm.
end, you know. The same with Phil, those guys. They were kind of like, well, what the fuck is this? Is this the way Juan operates? It's like, so, but for me, it was perfect because it's like, then I could give my all and, you know, and then be like, I think we recorded the longest session he and I had were maybe 5 hours, maybe.
Mhm.
And so, and then Juan's like, okay, so let's do these 3 songs. And so over a 3-day period, we did 2 solid songs, one that needed to get some editing done. And then, okay, cool. I'll see you in like, will you come back in like 3 weeks? It's like, yeah, sure. So we go back, do 2 more songs, and then do some more cleanup with some editing, you know, spots after you listen to it a bunch of
Yeah.
times, and the guys get to listen to it and give their input. So this time it was enjoyable, and Juan really, you know, it was funny because if I didn't give it, you know, that anger and that emotion and, you know, that violence, you know, sound, he would just like play a line that I did do that in, and then play a line that I didn't, and you could hear the difference. And so he was really pushing me to like, dude, that was dead. You need to go harder. You know, you need to like you're you know, kicking a dog or something. You need to be pissed when you deliver these lines. You know, so this time it was a much better experience, and I did enjoy it. And you know, I can't wait to get back in it. Because you practice in the studio and then you in your rehearsal studio, and then you go into the studio and you can really hear everything. So
Yeah.
you're when you're practicing your songs, you really hear your parts. You know, I have my earbuds in so I can hear myself really clear, and I'm focused on my part. And then you go in the studio and then you can hear everything come together, and it's just like, wow, I knew it was going to sound good, but that sounds like way good. And, you know, so it was a fun experience. I enjoyed it a lot more. And, you know,
I think vocally it must have suited you because obviously you had longer periods of time where you could actually rest your voice as opposed to, you know, having a blowout, if anything, almost metaphorically and potentially vocally by, you know, doing it for 8, 9, 10 hours at a time.
Yeah, because, you know, your voice will get tired, you know, and it would get tired, and we'd be like, okay, like on the one weekend we did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday I think I left at like maybe 1 o'clock because we were like, well, we'll come back in a few weeks and get it done, you know, because Juan, like I said, he was pushing me to really pump it out there, and so it's not like you're on tour where you got to play a show again tomorrow and again after that and again after that and again after that. You know, it's like you have to give it your all. And if your voice is a little sore, then, you know, normal situations, I'd have to continue. But this with Juan, it's like, okay, cool. Voice is a little sore. Yeah, I can hear it. You know, he can hear it too.
Yeah.
And he'd say, okay, well, let's finish today. And, you know, so, yeah, it was a good experience. And yeah, I didn't want to blow out my voice, but I didn't want to leave anything on the table either.
No, of course. So, dudes, we're coming to the end now. I've really enjoyed speaking to you about, again, hearing about the creation of the EP. It's obviously out on the 4th of March, 2022 on Metal Blade Records. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the EP. And yeah, it sounds great. And it's just nice to hear you guys generally just enjoying being back in this force, which is violence. So just to finish, really, I got a really simple question for you because, yeah, simple. What's the key to happiness, Sean? What's your key to happiness?
The key to happiness is remembering that there's always going to be next week.
To try again.
Yeah, because a lot of times you're like so wound up and how am I going to get through this? And then I always reflect back on, oh, well, I've had to deal with shit like this before and I got through it. So I'll just get through this week and we'll keep going, you know? And so that's what kind of keeps me happy.
Good,
yeah, I don't know. I'm a generally jolly kind of a guy, but with that mean streak.
only in the car, right? Only in the car.
Yeah, and behind the mic.
Well, good. That's where you're supposed to be angry. That's fine. Hey, dude, thanks so much for your time today. It's been great. Again, thanks for sharing your story about your health. We loved to hear about your family, and yeah, it sounds like you guys got a really good rhythm going on with the newly established violence. And I know you said obviously gigging isn't your as in gigging on a large scale isn't your priority. But yeah, if there was ever a situation you were in the United Kingdom, I'd love to hang out, have a beer, come and check out one of your shows, and nice to meet you in person.
We'll see you at Bloodstock then.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward, dudes. So, dude, as we say in METALIDADS, whether we're talking about whammy bars or weaning, napalm death or metal, napalm death or nappies, it's always good to talk. So thanks for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, dude. Look after yourself and hope the family stay well, stay heavy and stay healthy.
Awesome. You too.
Thanks, dude. Look after yourself.
Up your ass.